be short.
I'm going to do my best. Nathan and I have been here for a meeting that started at 5:15. So
Exec session's only 2 hours.
okay.
No.
Good evening.
Not funny.
Hecker.
So not funny.
Good evening. I'd
Come
like
on,
to,
eyes up.
Hello. I'd like to call to order this August 22nd, 2018 regular board meeting of the Pullman School District. We'll begin as we always do with our flag salute.
Don't see a student yet.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, you had to switch them, didn't you?
You did, yeah.
That was confusing.
Sorry about that.
Don't mention it. Don't encourage
Thank you.
it.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Superintendent Maxwell, are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are 2 changes to tonight's agenda. The first one that you received a week ago before receiving your second packet, we did have high cap report and professional development report. Both of those have been taken off and will be rescheduled at a future meeting.
Okay.
Those are the only changes, just those 2 reports.
2 less things.
Yes.
I move approval of the agenda as amended.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, reports, correspondence, and program. It appears we do not have an ASB representative here at this time, so we will skip over to board reports, beginning with Director Weed.
Okay, school hasn't started yet, so as soon as it does, I'm sure I will have much more to report, but right now, we'll just let it go. No report.
All right. Thank you, Director Roberts.
We just got done with our second Communication Advisory Committee meeting that Allison and I are co-chairing, and I just wanted to say I think it's going very well, and also I just wanted to re-emphasize the availability of an ombuds for our district to bring up any sort of issues that you may have. There's information on the website, social media, and other places on how to contact them, and so I just encourage anyone who has anything to say or any issues to please use that service.
Director Everman?
I just wanted, I think I might have seen it in the community update, but the fact that the city recognizes how useful our facilities are, and I just want to remind the community how much the district allows the other community members to use those facilities, the gymnasiums, the classrooms throughout the year. So I think it's a good reminder how we're integrated with the community. So.
Thank you. Director Tammy?
No report.
All right. And I'll just follow up on the Communications Advisory Committee. There is a section of the school district's website also that will report on the Communications Advisory. There's a summary after each meeting that is published there. If you guys would like to check out that summary, that will be there, so you can, slow and steady progress, but the record will be there.
Have you thought about maybe looking at the name? Because everybody's referring to it as CAC.
I know, and there's
But normally this is the Curriculum Advisory Committee.
Yes.
So I don't know what you would want to think of it as, but
Why
that'll
don't
give you
you
something
change
to
the
do.
Curriculum Advisory Committee?
Because that's been around since forever. 'Cause I was back on it, the dawning of time. So you can, but I would maybe think about it because it gets a little confusing.
That's fair.
Or we could just use the full name of both groups.
How about we just
no.
call it the Communication Committee?
There you
or
go.
Com Committee would be the,
Okay.
there you go.
Let us
from
know
now on.
if you ever get confused.
It could be the ComCom.
Com.
The little pom-pom, com-com, pom-pom. It would be just great. No,
Wow.
sorry.
We only have
Okay.
4 meetings, so I don't think we have
Okay.
time for a cheer.
All right, fine.
All right. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, a couple of quick things. One, I'll pass down. We got a nice thank you card, note of thanks for all you do, the district team. So I'll pass that down. Also received a nice email from a parent today about our revised school supply list and how grateful they were about the school district and buildings providing some additional supplies that parents don't have to buy. So that was very nice. Also, if you haven't seen the Pullman PD lip sync video, you may recognize some district employees in that video. So they were kind enough to include us on the hottest day of the year, by the way. So I will have to give extra credit points to Principal Eric Hines and Principal Cameron Grove for wearing the mascot uniforms during that shoot in 107 degrees. So, also, as you know, just another mention, we have reached a tentative 2-year agreement with our teachers. So they will be ratifying that on Tuesday. After ratification, we'll be bringing that to the board for discussion at a future, at our next following board meeting. Also, we have new teacher training going on all day today and tomorrow. Approximately 35 new teachers. This room was packed. Great job. Roberta and her team, Johnny and Grace and Isabel and everybody else that helps out with that, Megan and the building administrators. Just a fantastic job today. A lot of high energy, a lot of work, but we're looking forward to that again tomorrow. This is following up on 2 days of administrative training, which all the building and district administrators attended, and spent a lot of time reviewing data, looking at new rules and regulations, and also planning for the upcoming year. So it's been a very, very action-packed week, but it's fantastic. To top that off, we'll also be having 2 additional professional development opportunities. The morning of August 27th, we'll have Vince Martinez that will be doing some cultural work with our employees, and then on August 27th we have 28th, excuse me, we'll have J. Marie Ritchie coming in, and she'll be doing a presentation for all of our staff. So I would definitely invite the board members, if you're able to come to both or one of those, and you can make it, we would highly encourage you to attend if you can. You don't have to stay for the whole presentation. Vince's will be from 8 to 11, J. Marie's from about 8:30 to 11. So, but we'd love to have you there if you're available. And just I have to do a shout out to our summer group and employees and staff members that have been getting the buildings ready. It takes literally all summer to get these buildings cleaned, repaired, fixed, additional things done. They've just been doing a great job, and the buildings are looking wonderful, so really appreciate that. Kamiak Elementary is coming along, still on budget and still on schedule. We're actually installing cabinetry this week. The road, they tell me, will be done by October 1.
Nice.
Cutting a little close for my comfortable level, but I'm counting on it being done by October 1.
Did they put a 2018 on there?
Yeah, well, it better be done. So, but they are they're working late into the evening, and I saw a grader out there at 8:30 last night, so I'm very excited. Joe and I will be spending a lot of time making sure that we get that road in and ready to go. With that, the last item of my report, I'm going to turn it over to Evan Hecker and Shannon Foch.
Could you open up that presentation?
Sorry about that. There we go.
All right. So Evan and I had the opportunity of leading a small committee to develop a logo for Kamiak Elementary. And joining us tonight, Meg and Elizabeth, and then also Aurelia. She's a future Kamiak student, and she was a great help to us. And then we had a few other future Kamiak students, Evan's kids, and then my kids. They also gave us lots of opinions about the logo.
Shocking.
Yeah. Next one. So our process that we followed as a committee, we put tons of pictures up on these boards. We met in this room, just a whole flurry of things related to kestrels, to Kamiak, the Palouse, lots of different images to use as inspiration. And then we narrowed it down. We put lots of little colored stickers saying, yes, I like parts of this. No, this is awful. Please remove it from the board. And so we narrowed it down, and then what we did is we picked apart pieces of different images that we liked. And we all took pieces of paper and kind of drew what we envisioned the logo looking like based on pieces of those inspiration images. And it was interesting that we all kind of were headed down the same path based on discussions. And then we used a graphic designer with College Hill Custom Threads. They were fantastic to work with and took our advice. We met with them a few times to give them feedback from our committee, and then they worked with us to refine an image over the course of a few weeks. So I believe the next slide is the grand. Oh,
yeah, it's all right.
No, reveal. Sorry, I already did the reveal.
I was just going to add, of those 30 plus inspirational pieces, we had several student submissions.
yes.
For us, it really boiled down to reaching out to a professional because we were asked by the contractor to have an image, a logo that they could paint on the gym wall by September 1. And so maybe rather than taking one of our elementary students, we just sought out a professional. I will say one of our elementary students had one that looked almost exactly like this. And so I think that's where we drew a lot of our inspiration from. So I think my goal as a principal at the school would be to have all of them on display somewhere in the school, all the ones that were submitted by students, perhaps in the front office. Just one of the first things that people will see when they walk in. But yeah, this is the reveal for the wall of the gymnasium. And then the next one is just our black and white version that we can use for printing purposes.
Good job.
That's really awesome.
Yeah,
Well
that's
done,
great.
guys.
Thanks.
Well done.
So thank you to our
And thank
committee.
you, too.
They're
Yeah.
here tonight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah.
Does Kamiak have colors?
Yeah, they're roughly the colors of the kestrel, and so
Okay.
you're looking at kind of a burnt-ish orange, clay,
Okay.
and then
Like
how
a
do we describe it?
slate
Slatey
blue.
blue.
Slate blue.
Okay.
So the same colors that you would see on the bird, or
Okay.
the falcon, I should say. Excuse me.
Okay.
And the interior of the
Good job.
school is inspired by those colors as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we tried to stay true to the color scheme.
Cool.
Good job.
Thanks.
So you're being true to your school.
Absolutely.
There you go.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
All right, any questions?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well done.
Once again,
All right.
Visitors section.
The next part of the agenda is the visitors section. It is for anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group. Visitors addressing the board will go to the microphone and state their name and address prior to presenting their information. The board will listen and may offer clarification, but will not discuss the topic at this time. The board may consider moving the topic presented to a future meeting date as a discussion item. Please keep your comments civil and respectful and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At this time, we don't have anyone signed up to speak before the board, but would anyone care to address the board at this time, please?
Hello, my name is May Galnick. I reside at 1510 Northwest Arcadia Drive. So I'm wondering if I can, at some point in the next few weeks, come in and present our Jefferson Elementary School outdoor learning lab classroom plans to all of you. It's just to show you guys what we're doing. Our PTA is creating, right outside the library in our courtyard, we're creating an outdoor learning lab. And we're working with a landscape architect out of Spokane who's also an adjunct faculty member at WSU. And so we're also working with several other landscape architects who are going to be incorporating their students in this process as well. And so it's going to be fantastic. So I just wanted to, because I kind of feel like once it's done, it's going to be a showcase. It's going to just be awesome. So I want you guys to know about it. So you can tell people about it. So, but she'll have the official plans probably early next week, and so maybe at the next board meeting or once school starts, at some point, I'd like to just come in, and actually, she'll come in. Jenna Joshowicz is her name.
Okay.
You know.
So you have actually asked a yes or no question, so I'm going to provide the clarification.
Okay.
Yes, you can make arrangements
Yeah.
for a presentation. You just get a hold of Shannon and Bob, and we'll
Get it on the
figure out
agenda.
a time that works well.
All right,
So,
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Meg.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you, Meg.
Would anyone else care to address the board at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Next is the consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approves the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the consent agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Tonight's consent agenda consists of minutes, warrants, transfer requests, personnel report, records destruction, and ASB fundraisers. And I would now entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 action items this evening. The first is the 2018-19 assessment plan presented by Assistant Superintendent Roberta Kramer.
Good evening. There has been no change. We did add other than the AP assessment. And in addition to that, we provided for you, I have a copy of it right here. It's very colorful. If you really want to know, it's in Minot State's colors. I'm a graduate of Minot State. Not many people even know where that is. But that's depicts where assessments are at what grade levels, just as a visual. So that's our first attempt at that. We hope to continue to refine that over time.
Comments from the board? I would like to comment, thank you. This at-a-glance visual, I think, conveys for the public and for any parent in a far easier and more accessible manner what the assessments will be. And I agree, this, as a first attempt at this is great, and it will probably get even easier to read in time, but
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to say Christmas theme, so it's good to know.
Okay, no, it's Minot State's colors.
So
One of the Dakotas.
Yes, North Dakota.
North.
is the fall, winter, spring, is that one of those or all 3 of those?
Generally, all 3 of those, with the exception of at the middle school, there's some flexibility there.
Thank you.
Roberta, where will this be posted? On the website?
In the website and under teaching and learning is generally where we would
Okay.
put it.
If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move approval of the 2018-19 assessment plan as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2018-19 assessment plan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. And next, Policy 4130, Title I Parent and Family Engagement.
As I shared with you at the last meeting, this is an update to align with WASDA's policy. It also included the removal of the procedure.
Are there any questions from the board?
I have
Our,
none.
is this parent engagement, I mean, is it often confidential, or is it something that we could report on in a broad sense, like, to the board how often Is it in what types and things like that?
Where I think the most appropriate place would be is when principals come to report to you about the progress related to their school improvement plans.
Oh,
It's embedded within school improvement plans.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's an.
So is that
that's
already
more-
the case, or would this be?
We've had a lot of conversation about how to gather that data. One of the things that will be required at Jefferson and Franklin is sign-in sheets and things to that nature to ensure that we're getting to all families. And so we've tried to suggest it, but part of the challenge is that when families come to our schools, we don't want to say, well, wait a minute, we don't want you in this event until you've signed in, okay? And a lot of times it'll happen naturally in a classroom, but it doesn't always happen when it's a big school reading event or something like that. So we're just looking for ways to track the data better. Sometimes it's a matter of counting plates if there's pizza with it or something like that. So just trying to be creative in how we do that.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, I'll just add that Garen Shannon, our IT director, and I have been looking at a web-based program, though, for not only for parent volunteers, but it has it would be an electronic rather than doing a paper system to do background checks, but also within that web-based solution would be the ability to seek volunteers for certain things, like field day and such, but it also gathers data on how many attended, how many volunteered. So there's an electronic way that we're looking at to see if we can purchase that and make it more online and more relevant to the technology and our needs. So that
That'd
might
be
be able
great.
to help.
So
Yeah.
could people potentially volunteer, like just say, I want to volunteer, I'm going to sign up for this thing, and then they would be available in
Yep.
their time slot or whatever? Or?
It would show you who is available,
That's awesome.
who is interested, who is a tentative, who actually did attend, or if you were getting close and you still needed somebody in a certain time slot, you could send out a reminder, and people could electronically just say, hey, I can do that.
I love that, because like I've had a lot of people, including my wife, myself, have been very confused as to how one volunteers, because there's so many options,
Yeah.
and so that's awesome, having
It's
like a clearinghouse.
Very powerful tool. I took the tutorial today, so I only went through the first 3 modules, and there's, I believe, 8. But it's a very powerful tool, and so I think it holds a lot of promise. So we are exploring that, and it would also help Dagny out, because right now we process all those volunteer applications by hand. And this way a person could go in electronically and it will actually send it electronically and get it back electronically. So it's so far it looks fabulous, but we're going to explore that.
Is it a subscription thing then, or?
Yeah, it's a payment plan that you would do, but it's a very powerful tool and would have a lot of things I think that would benefit the schools and the community and make it much more user-friendly and easy to access.
Not to mention staff resources.
Yeah, which, I mean, literally, we have to do something different, because when we get a stack of, and I'm not kidding, volunteer applications, and we got to do them by hand.
Which is awesome.
Well, yeah, it's awesome, but you also don't want to,
So-
make those people disinclined to volunteer because it took so long
Yeah.
to process, or you lost their name, or I mean.
And this way, they
just-
they don't have to fill it out on paper, they can go online and fill it out, and so it's, we're really looking forward to that. So we're gonna look through and look at all the details in the contract and see that it has some really, really great tools that would, I think, benefit the PTAs, PTOs, booster clubs, especially when they're looking for ticket takers or whatever, volunteers for the concession stand. It has a lot of benefits. So just wanted to add that.
That's awesome.
Aside from volunteering, though, do people envision programs like promoting reading for 20 minutes a night, or flashcards or something like that as an actual outreach to parents?
Yeah, and we have all of our elementary schools do things like that. a math make and take night or, reading nights and things like that, where there are things that families can do together at school and then take them home to do as well. But I also think that there is opportunity. I know when I had children in elementary school, we'd get a list of volunteer ideas, and often one of them was, is there something you can do at home at night? Is there, so I was usually the one who cut out everything. Now there's all these fancy machines that do those things, but you try to do those things to help support your child's classroom. So I think that there are often teachers will provide opportunities for families to help.
Also, my son has participated in Book It for the last 2 years, so I think a lot of classrooms also do 20 minutes for 20 days of the month, and then you get a free mini pizza from Pizza Hut. So there's definitely other things that are going on as well.
I like the stuff we used to get, math in the kitchen and that sort of thing with little kids.
Yeah.
That was, but now I couldn't do math.
I was going to say, is it the little kid math that you like?
Yeah, it was, way back, it was my kind of math, thank you very much, not this newfangled whatever. Yeah, whatever.
But if you remember what I shared with you last week, or 2 weeks ago, this is really about our Title I schools and being specific in engaging with families out, not just during traditional times. There's requirements around offering a variety of opportunities and different things for families. So that's really reaching out and engaging with folks.
Thank you, Bert. I would move that we approve 4130 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve revisions to policy 4130, Title I, Parent and Family Engagement. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? No one is opposed. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
next, we have policy 4260, use of school facilities, presented by Executive Director of Operations, Joe Thornton.
So I was not here for the last time when this was a discussion item, and I understand there was a question specifically related to the paragraph where it says professional fundraisers representing charities, so on and so forth, will receive at least 60% of the gross revenues received. Question is, where did that come from? That's the language that WASDA is recommending. This is updated, this policy is updated because of recommendations from WASDA, so it's coming from them.
And I know we have, the rental chart on these things. Is there any consideration given for programs that involve Pullman High School or Pullman School District students? Like, we did just did the Distinguished Young Women thing here, right? Which was awesome, and they loved it, and they just loved everything about the school, the auditorium, and everything. But I know the local program can barely afford anything, and so is there a way, and that is, of course, mainly Pullman High School students, is there a way to do a discount if it is kind of student related?
That would be your call. You guys, the board establishes the fee schedule. Okay. And right now, if you remember the fee schedule, there's kind of tiers, tier 1, tier 2. Yeah. And this really relates to the theater because everything else is, you can rent a gym for $15 an hour. Yeah. So it's really for the theater, and the theater is that tier 1, which is Pullman School District, Pullman Parks and Rec, and that's partly because of the interlocal agreement with the city, and then that tier 2 is the nonprofit groups. That would have to be something the board would take into consideration.
Okay.
So does this policy allow for an appeal or just an exception? Like if it was brought to the board, or is it just ironclad as far as?
I've had several groups come to me and say, can we negotiate that? And my answer to them is, I don't establish the fee schedule, and I'm not.
Okay.
So any appeal?
I don't make the rules. My job is just to enforce them.
Yeah.
So.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously that becomes because we have lots of things going on that do involve, a Pullman student.
Right.
But it's not our event. It's not a school district event. For example, there's a family renting the theater here in a couple of weeks for a dance recital for the daughter. Yes, she's a Pullman High School student, but it's not a Pullman High School event. Because the minute you cross that line, here's one of the other hats I wear, the liability hat.
Yeah.
The minute we start to call it our event,
No.
Okay.
we own some liability there.
Yeah.
So, which by the way, I'll be talking down the road in a few weeks about insurance costs and how those have gone up.
They've gone up?
It's a very good point.
Shocker.
Shocker.
Yeah.
And by the way, this reference to the 60% is specifically referenced in the procedure for 4260P under Group 2 nonprofit group, specifically references this 60% threshold.
Director Weed, would you like to, at a future meeting, review the rental fees? Or
Well, I will. I would like to, but
Okay.
I'll look at it. Okay, I know where to go. It's up on the website, isn't it? With yeah. I'll just do it
If
and
not,
see
we can get you a
if it
copy.
needs to be changing. I'll
Okay,
discuss.
because I know that we redid them in the last 5 years for sure.
Oh, no, yeah.
We-
It hasn't
we-
been
we-
that long because.
We did them when the theater opened up
Yeah.
because we knew we needed to have a
Yeah,
more
We needed to have someone on staff in that
Oh,
room.
absolutely.
Yeah.
November of 16.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
And speaking of facilities, you haven't noticed the high school track resurfacing project is done.
Well, I noticed that when I
Yeah.
went to the vouchers today.
Yeah. Yes.
Wasn't cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap, and that's part and parcel of this, is maintaining these facilities is expensive.
Are the trees gone?
The trees are gone,
Nice. I have to go
Yes.
look now, because I want to
Yes.
see.
so
I
only,
remember where they were.
only.
Yes, I do.
Only
I used to walk my
8.
dog up there all the time.
Only 8, and there's Doug firs in front of them, which will now take off, because they can have the water,
Perfect.
yes.
No, it is expensive to maintain these facilities, and we should be very proud and grateful that
Yeah.
ours are kept in such fine shape. But that's maintenance and custodial, so.
I will tell you, though, that your guidance in allowing us to get that project started saved us a ton of money, believe it or not, because Joe, what did the other school pay for theirs? And it was quite a bit more than what we did.
Yeah, we were able to piggyback on top of some projects they had already going on in Spokane, so we saved on some mobilization costs.
Nice.
So we were able to kind of get it done while they're heading that way, they can, so.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, I'll tell you, but, we're putting a new surface over the top of old asphalt, and I didn't even want to come to you with the request to
No.
replace all the asphalt. So,
But it is nice, and again, that will help with liability as well.
yes,
So that's
yes.
all good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have one, Joe. Do we have an estimate of when the fence is going to be put back up?
We've placed a call into the fencing company, but have not heard back.
Okay. Thank you.
I move approval of 4260, use of school facilities.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve revisions to policy 4260, use of school facilities. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. That is approved. We have one discussion item this evening. It is policy 2409, credit for competency/proficiency, presented by Assistant Superintendent Kramer.
So, this should just be like deja vu.
Yes.
Because we talked about this policy in May. And if you remember right, when we started with this policy, it only referred to world languages. So we've expanded it dramatically. Related to conversations that I've had with high school staff and questions that have come up related to the directed athletics, what I brought before you tonight is a change only to the directed athletics. If you remember, that's up to a half a credit is available to students. So one season of a school sport, it's only available to students in grades 10, 11, and 12. And it will only be awarded one time. So if they do 3 sports in a year, they'll only get a half a credit. They can't get anything more during their entire time at Pullman High School. We're asking that we include a pre-approval component, because that really, I mean, it's difficult. I think we kind of assumed that pre-approval part of it, but in more follow-up, we've decided that we would like to ask you to include that in policy. And because it requires pre-approval, and as you noticed in the pretty extensive packet that we provided to you on directed athletics, you'll notice that there's a lot of stuff that students do all along. So if they're in the sport, then they are setting goals related to that sport. They're evaluating their goals. They're tracking their fitness. There's so many components in there. I might suggest to students that they take fitness or PE here. But it is so comprehensive. And therefore, that credit cannot be, in my mind, cannot be awarded retroactively. That the student has to be enrolled, have prior approval, and follow through that way. So that's what I'm asking from you for tonight.
But you can't change it for those who are already.
But they had to have been a 10th, 11th, or 12th grader. That's what
that was mandatory no matter what.
That's what the directed athletics says, yes. Yes,
so
and they also have to have the completion of the packet, because if I just say, hey, I'm in track.
But you can't change that now for students. I mean, that's changing a graduation requirement, because it is a course requirement for students who are now enrolled in the school. And if we're changing any kind of a course thing like this, would that go back to, this incoming freshman for next year?
It was never,
it's not a requirement.
Policy before.
No.
It was in the student handbook, and it was, you had to complete 2 seasons of a varsity.
It was in policy.
No.
No.
Well, it was, I guess, maybe until May.
No, it wasn't, Susan. It wasn't a part of the policy before.
It was in the student handbook. My older daughter did use it. What you did is you could do 2 seasons of a varsity sport. And after 2 seasons of a varsity sport with prior approval, you could get this.
Well, what policy was I looking at?
Yeah.
There was a policy I was looking at that said it was talking about all the languages, and down below it just said, remind me, Jamie.
What was adopted in May regarding this, and it said exactly everything that it says there for 7 directed athletics, but it doesn't have the blue part. So it was adopted in May of 2018.
Right.
So it was adopted in May.
Correct.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
That's when we added directed.
Procedure.
Right. But it was in the handbook.
It was in the handbook.
It was in the handbook then, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was in the
Yeah,
handbook.
but we're really trying to clean it up.
We did.
And it really, because our 9th graders need to take health, and health is in that fitness and health year-long block that they take. And so that's why it's not in 9th grade. That's why it's at 10th, 11th, or 12th grade.
So, okay, so it won't work for somebody who'd already has been on the swim team and is now doing running start again. Okay.
Right. Yeah. But I think we have other options that are available, and I think we continue to have those conversations. We have Flex PE, we have some other options.
Yeah, but if the kids now are juniors and seniors and they're doing running start, they're not
But
even here long enough.
if they're in a sport, then they can go ahead and get pre-approval and do the complete their packet.
Okay. From my understanding, the student, Jamie's daughter, was on the swim team freshman year, and they were counting on that.
Right. But we had never approved. I mean, freshmen aren't even a part of the conversation around directed athletics.
Okay. Good. Sorry.
I was just going off the wording, what's actually there.
Yeah.
And it sounds good, so I'll address it at the next meeting.
But it does say here grades 10 through 12 anyway, so
It says
even
it's available for them to use it, but it doesn't exclude using it from the previous year. So the intent might have been there, but the wording wasn't, and so I'll address it at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
And Jamie, I'm happy for you to make an appointment with me.
Yeah.
Talk about it. That'd be great.
I told her.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Just wanted to make sure we were.
This is the only change? The entire
That's the only change.
That's the only change.
And then you'll change stuff like the procedure,
The procedure is included in your
Okay.
information. Yeah.
and it has this But you know, all I could find, well, I was looking at the old procedure, and there was nothing.
Right.
I would
The
note
old
that,
procedure.
like you said, the directed athletics requirement is equivalent to taking a class. It is a substantial, I mean, it will be a relief to those who honestly don't have room in their schedules.
Right.
Because it will create that freedom to be in sports and get a credit for it, but it is a lot of work.
Lot of work.
Oh, my.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Is this a
It
concern
is
that the
Crazy land.
excess workload, I mean, is that a concern?
No,
Because-
I think it's
No.
appropriate. You're earning
Yeah.
credit for something. There has to be like a learning standard to it.
Well, no, if, I mean, for instance, if you're in football for 3 years, but you can only take 0.5 credits for it, I mean, isn't that going to increase your workload for the other 2.5 years that you're in
It
football?
may, but I mean, I don't think we can also offer repeated
0.5.
credits for the same or similar
But I think you only have to
experience.
fill out all those stupid
Once.
forms once, for
Yes,
one
just once.
semester,
Yeah,
or one
stupid.
season.
All the
I'm
forms.
sorry.
That's okay. I appreciate your editorials.
Yeah, it's created
Yeah.
after much in-depth analysis and
Yes.
discovery, yes,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. And we looked at different models at other school districts around this. Some of, you know, I mean, we just really, I think we have to be appropriately hold,
10 minutes.
there has to be
Okay, I'm
an
just trying to
accountability embedded within that paperwork, so.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay. That concludes our discussion items this evening. We do have several informational items in the packet tonight, including that directed athletics packet is in there. Nutrition and physical fitness, I would call your attention to this procedure because there's a substantial change. In fact, I would invite, would you be willing to discuss the wellness committee and the change to that procedure? Have we discussed that with the board
Well, we
yet?
did discuss with the board on
Okay.
June 13th. I think we're all a
Okay.
little distracted.
Yeah, a little, oh, that's right. A refresher,
Hate to bring back
I think,
memories,
is in
but
order
that's-
because this is, the more people who are aware of this change, probably the better.
Sure.
Thank you, Joe.
And actually, a member of the audience is also on that committee as well. And we had some great discussions this year as to where we should be going with this. And all this is part and parcel of an effort to, at the end of the day, keep kids safe and keep kids healthy. And part of it is driven by Michelle Hyatt's, our school nurse, her observations about foods being brought into school that kids might cause allergies, and kids have diabetes and their reaction to parties. And so we're just trying to, for lack of a better word, regulate this a little bit more. I will tell you that on the committee, I was one of the people, along with Michelle, that said, you know, there shouldn't be any celebration food at all, period. Well, there were some more reasonable voices in the group. So we came up with this language that is an attempt to try to make that a little more channeled, a little more, like I said, regulated, and let hopefully families know in advance of what's going to happen. Be fairly scripted on what families can bring in because of the concern about food allergies, and also have in place the protocol where that food is going to get dropped off in the office, not in the classroom. Because when I was in second grade, you bring a plate of cupcakes in, you've lost me until I get one of those cupcakes. Frankly, at the age of 58, you bring a tray of cupcakes in, you've lost me until I can go. And part of that is we want to make sure the office is going, okay, this meets our standard, this is okay, or, you know, I'm sorry, we can't serve this to the kids. So it is, and I know, Pete, there's a concern out there about government regulation. We're a government agency, but we're trying to just have it a little bit more controlled in an effort to help kids stay safe.
I mean, for reasons that I don't know that people agree on, food allergies, you know, of the big food allergies are increasing at record rates.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that you have to consider that may not have been an issue 30 years ago when peanut allergies or eggs weren't near as common you know, because like my cousin, for instance, has a peanut allergy, and I mean, he freaks out when there's a peanut in the room, you know, and so not only don't we want to put kids in that situation, but you also, you know, don't, like you said, the liability and all of that stuff. And so it's really, I mean, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it must be store purchase. That takes a lot of pressure off the moms to
Right.
compete who makes the best cupcake.
And the issue we had this past year, an issue that happened this past year, is that it was all store purchased items, but then they were repackaged like in individual bags.
Oh, geez.
And that included some peanut M&Ms, and so, you know, yeah.
So
And that's why it's important it goes to the office first.
Yeah.
I recall there was a list of approved items.
There is a list,
Okay.
yes, there's a list
So
of.
is that, I assume that you guys are gonna get all of that information to
Yes, yep, that's all going to go. In
parents
fact,
over and
why don't
over
you-
again?
Why don't you join me up here? Evan did not attend the meeting with the principal, so he got selected to be the one to write the letter. Because, and I'm also hearing the principal saying, oh, Evan was an English major, well, have Evan write it.
Marketing guy, there you go.
But the other thing is, the same letter is going to go out from all the elementary schools. We're going to try to really be consistent. So we're not hearing,
That's good.
well, at Sunnyside, they let them do this, or at Franklin, so in an effort to be consistent.
Yeah, I've drafted a letter for feedback. I've distributed to all the principals, and then just the second edition today, knowing that this was coming today. So the plan is to send it out and distribute it to parents via email and school packets, or, you know, stuff delivered home in the next several days, you know, by the time school starts. And not only is there a letter just kind of outlining this new policy, or new procedure, but there will also be the list of approved items that
And
we'll
that'll
have.
be on the website, too.
Yeah, we can put it
I
on
was
the
going to say,
website.
we should distribute that via social media if we can, Shannon. I mean, just as far as a list and an announcement is, you know, like, hey, we're concerned about food allergies. And because it really is, I mean, I was just reading an article about how they have no idea why, but that, you know, rates of food allergies are increasing at sometimes double-digit rates, you know, so it's,
It
At least
also
on the
might be-
website, you can look it up.
It also might be useful to have the secretaries just have like 20 copies in their file,
Yeah,
so
true
that they
that.
can just hand it out. Because if you say, go check the website, or go check such and such for the list, I'm not sure that people will put that effort into, I mean, it'd be nice to just cut them off and just say, here it is.
I agree.
or just make sure to link.
This is a-
Laminate them and
Okay.
place them.
This
in
is a really
post
big
them.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge
Oh, it's
change.
huge. This is a huge
and
cultural
more
change.
and more teachers are encouraging non-food celebration items. Susan, now
Stop
look.
pressuring them.
Well,
You're
you know,
pressuring them.
for example, recess is a reward that, you know, teachers will give to their kids if they reach certain goals. It used to,
But we have seat times that we are required to have the kids in the seats. We can't be just willy-nilly tossing them out in the playground.
Recess can be an educational
Much as
tool
you'd be
as well.
tempted
We can have them take their chairs out into the playground.
Oh, perfect.
So in other words, but my point is more and more teachers are encouraging, you know, you want to come in and celebrate Joe's birthday, something other than food.
Do we track who has food allergies in the school?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, all of the food in the cafeteria and stuff, though, is all allergen free, or do we give them special meals?
It's individualized as much as
Individualized.
possible.
I mean, like all the schools still have peanut butter in them.
Mhm.
I mean, there's peanut butter in the kitchen, but we're very, very careful about that.
Joe?
Thank you.
We did talk about this before, we just all, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry
I remember
that,
That's okay.
with no warning whatsoever, I called you up here because we don't usually discuss informational items, but this, when I saw this on the list, this is a big one.
This is
so,
a big one.
Yeah.
And you are also a member of that committee, so did I leave anything out?
No, that was excellent. Yeah, thank you.
How come she wanted you to come up and take the shot?
Thank you,
I
Evan.
think she wanted me to mention again that if Michelle and I had our ways, there'd be no food at all.
I know, it's
We'd be the treat Nazis. is
just
what
a
we
big
would be.
meanie.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, if there are no objections, we will now recess into an executive or closed session. About how long?
30 minutes.
Okay, of approximately 30 minutes for the purpose of discussing evaluation of complaints against public employees and negotiations. And no action will be taken during this executive or closed session, and when it is done, we will simply adjourn.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.